But before we do, let's get you caught up on the case. Here is Court TV anchor Judge Ashley Wilcott.
We've tried calling multiple times now. My brother's phone rings a few times if we're going to voicemail. My sister-in-law's phone immediately goes to voicemail.
On November the 18th, 2021, a family's worst nightmare came true.
Prosecutors say just 2 months after Georgia firefighter Justin Hicks and his wife Amber bought their dream home, they were shot to death inside it. Officers found their 2-year-old son alone upstairs, his pajamas stained with blood.
Justin and Amber got Jacob ready for bed, got him fed, cleaned up the house, and put him down for the night. But what the Hicks didn't know is that on this night, there was someone lurking on the outside of their home.
Police say that the person was 22-year-old Matthew Lanz, seen here on surveillance circling the Hicks' home in suburban Ackworth, Georgia, about an hour outside of Atlanta. Lanz is accused of breaking into the home through a back window. Once inside, police say Lanz shot Justin and Amber at close range, leaving them dead in their living room and their son alive upstairs.
The Hicks were unaware. They were defenseless. They were executed. All while Jacob was asleep upstairs.
Lanz pleaded not guilty to charges of malice murder, and he waived his right to a jury, choosing instead to have a Cobb County judge decide his fate. Prosecutors say Lanz's phone was in airplane mode during the murders, but shell casings recovered at the scene were linked to a pistol that he owned. Before an arrest was made for the couple's murders, prosecutors say Lanz broke into another home nearly 25 miles away. Lanz allegedly stabbed one of the responding officers before he was shot and taken into custody. He faces separate charges in that case, including attempted murder of a police officer.
Matthew believes that he is set up either FBI, CIA, or some government agency.
According to court documents, Lanz has an older brother, Austin, who allegedly broke into the same home the Hicks later purchased. Austin took his own life in 2021 following an alleged attack on a Pentagon officer. Matthew Lanz faces up to life in prison without the possibility of parole if convicted.
You into court now. We have been listening to a detective who is testifying to surveillance footage outside the Hicks home.
We're slightly behind, looking down.
Okay, and can you point out that V shape again?
Yes, absolutely. It's projected here on the ground.
All right, and if you'll just stay standing for a moment, so 653, another angle, yet are you still able to see that V shape on the pavement?
Yes, it's becoming more defined at this point.
Right, State's Exhibit 654, is this a higher angle?
It is. This is from an elevated position on all that.
And are you still able to see the V shape?
Yes, it's very distinct.
Okay, State 655, and finally 656. Do you continue to see that V shape despite changing the angle of, or the height and angle that the photo was taken?
Yes, this was an attempt to see if that was reproduced at various angles.
All right. Now, in order to fully conduct this comparison, did you also take still shots of the suspect vehicle from the surveillance footage?
Yes.
Okay. And prior to testifying, did you look at a folder on the master drive labeled screenshots of suspect vehicle headlights from surveillance video?
Yes.
And were the images, I believe it was the 10 images contained therein, fair and accurate screenshots that you personally took of the suspect vehicle from the various camera angles?
Yes.
At this time, State moves to tender State's Exhibit. 685 into evidence. And for the record, the 10 screenshots within are labeled A through I. So it states 685 A through I.
Any objection?
Let me just check and be sure what that is.
No.
Yeah, so don't switch over to the screen quite yet, that way I can pull it up. There we go. Jimmy.
No objection, Judge. Those are some that I saw earlier. I just wanted to be sure that they were the same.
Thank you. State's Exhibit 685, labeled within 685A through I, is admitted.
All right, may I publish those images?
Yes.
And are these images kind of easier to see digitally as opposed to printed, Detective?
Well, I believe so, yes.
So first publishing State's Exhibit 685A. Which vehicle is this screenshot of?
This is of the Lanz vehicle.
And so all the 10 images that are contained in this folder, is this all the Lanz vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And so here, which camera angle are we looking at?
This is the 5064 Verbena driveway camera covering this residence's driveway.
And the timestamp of this screenshot, if you will, please.
21, 20, and 29 seconds.
In this screenshot labeled A, are you able to see that V shape on the pavement?
Yes,
Can you please point that out for the court?
certainly. It's just here on the pavement, just in front of the, primarily the left side headlight.
So the driver's side headlight.
Yes.
Now looking at State's 685B, is this the same Lanz vehicle?
It is.
All right, and so the timestamp, is it actually the same exact timestamp as A?
Yeah, it's just a frame further.
And in this further frame here in State's 685B, can you point out that V shape on the page?
Certainly. It's occurring here.
Next, looking at, whoops, apologies. 685C, what have you done to take the screenshot in 685C?
Cropped out some of the side information for the purposes of potentially putting this into a presentation.
Okay, and are we gonna get to that as well?
Yes.
Okay, very good, and so you still see that same V shape?
Yes,
All right, if you'll point it out, please.
certainly. Just on the left side headlamp on the ground, cast on the ground.
Looking at State's 685D, what is it that you are capturing from this screenshot that also has the timestamp of 21/20/29?
The same thing. These are a series of images that I was utilizing for the purposes of potential use in presentation, determining for my purposes which one I felt most comfortable.
Okay, are we also seeing the same in State's 685E?
Yes, a little less prominent in that angle.
Now looking at 685F, and I know we haven't gotten this far in terms of the actual videos, but what surveillance system are we now looking at?
581 Delphinium Boulevard, the residence that their driveway sits off of, Dahlia Way. This.
All right, let's slip in a commercial break. We will get you back into that Georgia courtroom for more testimony when we return. Stay with us.
Disappearance of Anna Walsh.
Her husband now charged with her murder.
All eyes on this accused killer.
The disappearance of Anna Walsh murder trial. Live coverage this week following jury selection on Court TV.
Tonight, on closing arguments,
Tell me in your own words, sir, why are you here?
I'm here to plead guilty.
we're unpacking new developments in the case against Brian Walsh.
Closing arguments with Vinnie Politan tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Matthew believes that he has been set up either FBI, CIA, or some government agency. I think you'll hear some information about that through his statements. Or will have the ability to listen to those and evaluate those. We believe that, and certainly are confident that the court, after you hear all the evidence in the case, will be able to make an enlightened and fair judgment.
As the defense in the opening statement saying that defendant Matthew Lanz is being set up by the government, or he believes, very, worded properly by the defense attorney, who doesn't believe it, I don't think, saying that he believes that the defendant was set up by the CIA or the FBI or some government entity, and it will come out during this proceeding.
Yeah, and the defense counsel in his opening there, he really did what he could do, all he could do, asking the judge for a fair assessment, a fair judgment. So why don't we go ahead and get you back into court? We've been listening to some testimony from a detective who has been testifying to some surveillance footage that is outside of the Hicks home.
This is actually Delphinium Boulevard, and this is the front yard of that residence. And my interest in this particular house was, number one, I noticed the camera and I knew it was a high-end system, just based on the camera. The placement of the camera and the position that this house was built in was one of the shortest distances for a front lawn to the roadway. And so this became a primary home of interest for my understanding. This was actually the first video that I acquired because I believed that the point of access and egress to the crime scene was most likely on Delphinium Boulevard at the time. And so I chose and selected a large block of time from this residence to review and examine.
And in that large block of time, is this timestamp here, where it has 10:11, 29 p.m., is this the only time that you see the suspect vehicle captured on this surveillance?
Yes, it is.
All right, and if you continue the direction that this vehicle is driving, what intersection do you end up at?
This is Delphinium headed out of the subdivision for the travel of this vehicle, the next intersection. Other than any side streets within it would be Bells Ferry.
Okay, very good. And here, were you able to see that V shape casted onto the pavement?
Yes, this would have been some of the, I think I already testified, this was some of the earliest video that I acquired after the 50-50 Verbena video. This was where I first noticed this headlight, what I'm referring to as a headlight signature, where the signature cast by the headlights in the vehicle appeared to be distinctive enough to identify one vehicle from another.
Looking now at 465G, is this an additional frame of that same camera angle?
It is.
Do you still see the headlight signature?
You do, here just in front.
And I need to relabel this because this is actually a second G, so I will relabel that, put that on the record once it's relabeled. But is this actually just a cropped version of 685G?
Yes, in fact, that would probably indicate this is the image that I utilized for presentation purposes in another item.
And then what's currently labeled, and again, I'll have to switch these by one letter, but 685H, is that the same Lanz vehicle?
It is the same vehicle, a little further down the road, looking at the back end of the vehicle.
Does that capture the tail light?
It does.
And finally, what's currently labeled as I. What are we looking at in this screenshot?
Vehicle has applied brakes indicating, and this shows that the vehicle did have a third taillight, position of the third taillight, which in some cases can be different.
And zooming in there, does that further depict the third additional taillight with the brakes applied?
It does.
And is that part of why when you had photographs taken of Mr. Lanz's vehicle, you had the brakes applied?
It is, for the fact of anything that might be unique or different in the known images from the images captured in the video, the homeowner's video.
Okay, very good. Now, again, prior to testifying, well, going back to the presentation that you created, in order to further look at these headlight signatures, did you also take screenshots of other vehicles that passed by the 5064 Verbena Drive address?
I did, yes.
And prior to testifying, did you look at the folder that was labeled screenshots of other vehicles from surveillance video?
I did.
And were there 4 images contained within that folder?
I don't recall the number. But
Okay, but did you look at all the
Yes,
images?
I did.
Okay, and are all those images screenshots you personally took?
Yes.
All right, at this time, state moves to tender states 486 into evidence.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 686. I apologize. Numbers are not great.
That's the 686. Right, 686 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I publish this?
Yes.
And those 4 images are labeled A, B, C, and D. So looking first at 686A, is this a different vehicle captured on 5064 Verbena?
Yes.
All right, does that have any sort of V-shaped headlight signature?
It does not.
Looking at state 686B, is this a different vehicle from Mr. Lanz's vehicle captured on 5064 Verbena?
It is.
Okay. Does this have a different headlight signature, meaning not the V-shaped headlight signature?
It does have a different signature than what I was looking for.
Whoops. Looking at 686C, how do we know this is not the Lanz vehicle?
We do not see the headlight signature that
And then finally, 686D, is this one of the SUVs we previously saw in states? $465D.
It is.
And did that have the headlight signature that you were looking for?
It did not.
All right, now going back, did you create a comparison between the known images of Mr. Lanz's vehicle and the screenshots of his vehicle captured on the various surveillance systems?
I did.
And what was the purpose of creating that comparison?
I prepared that for the investigators, the primary and secondary investigators in the case. Generally, there are times when some of my concepts and some of the things I think of to do for casework, maybe it's better that it's seen, my work is seen, rather than try to explain it to them. And so there are times when I try to make it very clear.
For the visual learners.
For the visual learners.
All right, very good. I'm going to show you states 479. Do you recognize that 2-page document in states 479?
I did.
All right, and how is it that you recognize it?
It's a document that I produced as a PDF file for the investigators and for their case file.
Very good. State moves to tender states 479 in the evidence.
Any objection?
That's the second page too.
No objection, can I have either of those previous?
States 479 is admitted.
May I publish?
Yes.
So looking at this first page here, have we previously seen these 3 screenshots?
We have.
Okay. If you walk through from left to right each of these screenshots and where it was taken from.
Certainly, from left to right, the left image is a known image made under search warrant at the Cobb County Police headquarters at the time, 140 North Merritt Parkway, in a dark portion back in a area where there are buildings on either side. It creates a kind of a dark pocket to capture what I believe was the headlight signature that I could identify in surveillance video.
Listening to a very thorough direct examination of the detective there. We're going to squeeze in a break. More of this case from Georgia when we return.
Welcome back to Court TV Live, along with Kelly Craft and Ted Rollins. We're heading back to Georgia now. We've been following day 2 of the murder trial for a man by the name of Matthew Lanz.
He is charged in the murders of Cherokee County firefighter Justin Hicks and his wife Amber. They were shot and killed in their home back in 2021. So this is a bench trial. A judge is going to be deciding Lanz's fate.
Let's go back in the courtroom now. More testimony from Detective Ronson Smith.
The next image was the arrival of a vehicle with, I believe, a matching headlight signature at on November 17th, 2021, approximately 20 hours. And this is captured. The middle image is captured from the 5064 Verbena Drive residential surveillance system. The final third image is from later on November the 17th, 2021 at 10:11 or 22:11 and 29 seconds from the residence at 581 Delphinium Boulevard.
And so looking at page 2 of State's 479 here, what is it that you were able to determine in comparing these 3 screenshots?
A matching headlight signature for each of the residential videos that were acquired from the scene, and the known image, matching the known image made under search warrant by the Cobb County Police with the vehicle in custody, the known vehicle of the Lanz vehicle. And then thereby showing that access into the area, or ingress into the area toward the crime scene and egress from the crime scene post-incident, and thereby narrowing a time frame for this incident.
So going back to State's 465 now, I want to play State's Exhibit E again. Now, in addition to observing the headlight signature that you just walked us through, what else was of interest to you once the camera view switched to 50/50 Verbena? Do you want me to ask another question?
I'm going to need you to repeat the question because somehow I got lost.
That's okay. On this clip here, so we're going to start on E. The first camera from 5064 Verbena, do you see the headlight signature?
Yes.
Okay. Once the camera, that you've combined, once it switches to the 5050 Verbena Drive address, do you see that headlight signature?
I apologize, I did not follow that. You did not.
Okay.
And that was one of the purposes of producing that clip, that work product.
Now, do you see any other lighting that was significant to you once you're at the 5050 Verbena Drive camera?
Well, it's difficult to say, but they're in sequence, those vehicles traveling down the roadway. There appears at one part of the before the first SUV that would have been following the Lanz vehicle comes down the road, there appears to be light that goes off into the shrubbery.
Okay.
Behind and to the north side of the target property, which was the Lanz residence.
if the vehicle, the Lanz's vehicle that we see driving down Verbena at the earlier part of the street, what side of the road do you then see some of the reflective light?
On the right-hand side of the road.
And is that the same side of the road where the Lanz's residence is?
Yes.
Okay. Is it possible that you may have that same sort of reflective lighting if someone were to be pulling into the Lanz's driveway?
I believe it would be, yes.
Now, is the Lanz's driveway captured at all on the 50/50 Verbena camera?
It is not.
All right, so we will now replay State's Exhibit 465E.
You said 455?
465. I'm going to pause it here with the timestamp at the bottom of the screen being 21:20 and 49 seconds. We are now at the 50/50 Verbena Drive camera location. If you will stand up, and when you see a little bit of that reflective lighting, indicate that for the court. And I know it's hard with lighting here. We'll go ahead and resume.
Just there.
Let's go ahead and bring in criminal defense attorney Marie Pereira. Marie, continuing to watch this case, presenting the surveillance video, which is showing Lanz at times near the couple's home that he went in, allegedly, and went in and shot them to death. So just again, prosecutor going through the motions here, laying out every aspect of the case.
I agree that even though it is a trial by judge, you need to show, like I said, the crime was committed, the defendant who's being accused was there, and if there's any extra added elements to the crime like malice, premeditation, and there's anything in the video that is showing that, it's important because you want to preempt whatever you think the defense attorney is going to come up with. But I don't think this defense attorney is saying it wasn't me, it was my friend's car, or I didn't do it. He said my client did it because he's paranoid basically and thinks that he's being set up and he was having a breakdown in his mental capacity. So I'm a little, not annoyed, but tired of seeing all of these headlight things and position of headlight, size of headlight, glare of headlight. Why are we going through this? Even though it is a judge and you don't have to worry about the judge getting bored, the judge, I think, kind of gets it. Yeah. He was there. That was his truck.
Yeah, and it's all, it's like this massive record building for an eventual appeal, likely. I mean, but there's no sneaky links. There's none of the good stuff that Marie, you jump out of your seat for and talk about. So yes, it's a little bit dull, to say the least, at this point. Maybe it picks up when the defense really does open up and show its colors, where we're going with this.
You know, the appeal with this case is just, it's just such a crazy situation. You have this young couple.
It's horrific.
Little child moving to their new home. They're so excited, and just this person comes and shoots them to death. And it just seems like everyone's worst nightmare.
Exactly. It's out of a horror movie. You're a nice, beautiful family enjoying their new home, and a stranger with no connection comes in and takes
there wasn't any past between any of them. It's just unbelievable to think of. And that's why we brought this case to our viewers, because, you know, you never know what can happen. You buy a home and then this, scary.
Yeah. All right, let's get a break before we keep talking about how boring this case is and people don't watch.
Oh,
no. It's gonna pick up, guaranteed. Stay with us. Back with more after this.
Tonight on Closing Arguments,
Tell me in your own words, sir, why are you here?
I'm here to plead guilty.
we're unpacking new developments in the case against Brian Walsh.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
My goal is to make sure that you remember me for the rest of your life.
You kill a man for acting like a junkie when you the one turned him into a junkie.
Interview with a Killer season finale, Saturday night at 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on Court TV.
Back now to Georgia, where the trial for Matthew Lanz continues today. This is day 2 of testimony.
Lance is charged in the 2021 killing of a young Cobb County, Georgia couple, Justin and Amber Hicks. The 2 victims were found shot to death in their home, and their toddler, 2-year-old, was in the house, but thankfully was unharmed.
Let's get you back into the courtroom now. We've been listening to the testimony from Cobb County Detective Ronson Smith.
Back in this area, so several frames before that. When you, yeah, so there it is occurring.
Oh, whoops, I think I pressed play again. Hold on, let me go back. All right. So we're gonna resume it at 21:20 and 51 seconds from 50:50 Verbena.
Just there.
And the timestamp there is 21:20 and 54 seconds.
It is.
Do you continue to see that at 21:20 and 55 seconds?
You do.
Does that continue up until 21:20 and 57 seconds?
Not quite.
Okay, just shy of that.
Yeah, well, actually, now you're seeing a similar pattern, but we've reached a point, and having noted in the earlier video with the 3 vehicles passing, in this same clip that we were just watching, the 3 vehicles were passing 50-64 Verbena. The front vehicle is, I believe, the Lanz vehicle. The second 2 vehicles are SUVs. The first vehicle behind the Lanz vehicle is approximately 8 to 10 seconds traveling behind. And so when this clip starts, the first part of the clip is actually still occurring when this clip starts. So what I'm trying to indicate is that the vehicle's progression, as 8 seconds later from the time we see those lights, approximately, we should see an SUV passing by, if in fact, potentially the Lanz vehicle turned in or pulled off at the driveway of 600 Delphine.
Okay, again, we'll continue on from that point and play the remainder. All right, I now want to look at state 465G. All right, the timestamp, at least for the very beginning here, what is the timestamp where this video clip starts? So this is 465G.
21:30 and 1 second.
And we're going to jump ahead a little bit to about 21:31 and 30 seconds. But what is it that you were capturing or focusing on during this clip?
I believe this is a clip that when I first noticed movement, and I believe a person traveling onto the property, the Hicks property.
And do you see any sort of lights or reflections that were important to you later on when we get to some other video clips?
Do I see them now?
No, not now.
I apologize.
That's okay. Do you see some changes in lighting coming from the Hicks' residence during this clip?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and play it. We will end up circling back once we get to later video footage. I'm going to, for clip G, we are going to skip to 21, 31, and 29 seconds. And if you will, indicate to the court when you see some of the activity on the screen that was significant to you.
There.
I'm going to stop it at 21, 31, and 36 seconds. All right, and what is it that changed on this screen?
Well, the backyard. There's lighting that has come on in the backyard.
And we've had images as well as some testimony about floodlights at the censored floodlights at the Hicks' residence. Is that what's being illuminated here in 21, 31, and 36 seconds?
I certainly believe it is, yes.
Now, do you see any associated movement in the same area?
Yes.
If you will, as you see that movement, please indicate that for the court as it's difficult to see.
Here in this area. In this area.
Stopping it at 21, 32, and 9 seconds. Can you point out for the court what's noticed in this frame?
In this frame, this is later determined. I determined this to be a Nest camera that was probably utilized by the family simply for live viewing and was not recording at the time. However, I believe this is...
All right, we're going to get a break. Coming up, more testimony in the stranger home invasion murder trial for Matthew Lanz out of the state of Georgia. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Kelly Craft. Thank you so much for being with us. We are watching day 2 of testimony in the murder trial against defendant Matthew Lanz. This is a bench trial, meaning the judge is going to decide Lanz's fate. He is facing multiple charges, including murder and assault, for allegedly shooting a couple to death inside their dream home. Their 2-year-old son, he was found in the home unharmed 12 hours later. Lanz also stands accused of breaking into several other homes and then stabbing a police officer in the neck. While prosecutors say there is no specific motive for his actions, Lanz claims he is a victim of a government conspiracy. The parties have returned from a break, and Detective Smith is back on the stand. Let's go ahead and listen in.
We are back on the record. The state of Georgia versus Matthew Scott Lanz, 229000922. All parties are present. You may proceed, Amy Green.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, so detective, to continue on, we're still on dates 465, some of those video clips. We're going to speed along watching some of these, but just so that the court is clear, in observing movement, were you in any way trying to make an identification of who is seen on this video?
No, I did not and do not believe it's possible to make an identification.
Nonetheless, when looking at it in totality, particularly with the vehicles, was it helpful in developing your timeline?
Yes, it was.
All right, very good. So we will continue on looking next at states 465H. And I will jump ahead to 21:37 and 28 seconds. We'll just play a few seconds here. Pausing now at 21:37 and 31 seconds. Did the front lights go out at that point?
Yes, they did.
And again, is there any way to know whether that was initiated by a human versus light sensors?
No.
Right, very good. Moving on to states 465I. And the timestamp we'll start it is 21:43 and 49 seconds. While it's difficult to see, can you see some movement on the street?
Yes.
Okay, and can you back it up just a few seconds there to 21:44 and 01, if you'll point out the duration in which you see someone walking on the street being Verbena.
The movement is here in this area, and it's a person that travels down the most extent of that travel is just about here, and then reverses course. It's now seen moving back up the roadway in the northern, basically a northern direction.
Right,
and here's the extent of the movement pretty much out here.
Whoops. We'll stop that video at 21:44 and 38 seconds. I'm sorry, 38 seconds. All right, next we will look at states 465. I'm sorry, L. We're going to start that at 21:52 and 0 seconds. And if you will point out when you start to see some of that movement on the screen. There.
I apologize, but I need to be able to see this screen.
Well, that's okay.
In order to depict what I'm seeing, because on this screen it's even more difficult.
Okay.
So the smaller the image, and the ability to overcome the challenges with the setup of this camera are difficult. But the movement is here, and it will continue around this corner, and it is the most difficult of all these images to see movement. But it is a person moving around this corner of the shrubbery, but because it is my belief they are so close to the shrubbery that the camera is having difficulty determining between what is movement and what is just the shrubbery. Because in a nighttime, if this were daylight, we would see it easily. But with these low light conditions and the distance It's basically just like ghosting, but you will see movement that comes around this corner very tight on the shrubbery.
Very good. We'll continue on. Now at the bottom of the screen here, we start seeing a person that's more visible. Where is that person coming from?
So that is the homeowner for 50/50 per B. And he has exited his residence to walk his dog. He'll be briefly in this area. He'll pass his wife, who comes out with a second dog for the same purpose. And then they enter their home.
Very good, thank you. Now, as this is continuing to play, will we ever see any lighting coming from the Hicks' residence on this clip?
Do not recall if this clip goes far enough into 2155 for the back lights, but it is around that time that back lights are illuminated. I just don't recall if it's on this clip or not.